Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Cutting Edge by Schmidt Brothers Cutlery. I am so happy that you're here today. I am so excited about this class, and I am really, really looking forward to making this food with you today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Bonnie. I'm going to be your chef today. I'm really happy that you're here. Joining us in the chat is Chef Anna. Hello, Anna. What's going on over there? Anna's going to be moderating the chat. So as you come up with questions and you have things you want to ask, just throw them in the chat. Anna will throw them back to me, and then we can have a conversation. This class has like a lot of my favorite things in it. I get to use my rock and roll Schmidt Brothers cutlery to make this whole menu come together in a magical way. I get to use all of these unbelievably gorgeous spices to create a beautiful, delightful, bold, juicy, totally memorable lamb lollipop dish with this super tangy pomegranate barbecue sauce to go with it. And we're even going to make a lovely little slaw on the side as a nice counterpoint to that richness of the lamb. This is a great, great menu. And the other thing that's great about this is a lot of the things that we're going to do here today, you can do a little bit ahead of time, so you can just knock this out for a dinner party on a weekend. You could even do it as a weeknight dinner if you were feeling a little extra savvy. This is great in the summertime, but don't be afraid to do it any time of year. So that's what we're going to do. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Okay,
let's
so
do
come on over here. We're going to look into the land of barbecue sauce. I'm going to make a pomegranate barbecue sauce. So if you shoot down, you're going to have a gander at everything that's going on here. So we're going to make this nice glaze that's going to go on top of the lamb, and I'm also going to serve it in little dishes on the side. So what I have started out here is just some tomato paste. That's a whole can of tomato paste, six ounces. That's so great because it's easy. You buy a can of tomato paste, you take it out, you dump it in, you're great. I'm going to get this going on fairly low heat. I'm not trying to blast this. I just want to have it warm and dissolve all these ingredients so they can mix and mingle together. So I've got the tomato paste in there. I have a lovely bay leaf ready to go. And then have a look at my other spices here. I've got some garlic powder. I've got some onion powder. This is sumac, which is a really fun spice. You're going to love that. This is a little bit of smoked paprika. I got a garlic clove, which I'm going to knock out in just a minute. I have cinnamon stick I'm going to throw in there. I've got some allspice berries. So these guys are great. You can buy just plain old ground allspice. I will say the berries are going to leach out a lot of flavor when you have them in liquid. So drop them in there. You can fish them out later if you want. I've got some cumin and some chili. Now I'm going to add some liquid ingredients. So this here is pomegranate molasses, which you're going to find in the international aisle of a grocery store if you go to Asian market. It's just ridiculous. It is cooked pomegranate juice with a little bit of sugar. Sometimes they'll do date sugar, regular, granulated, whatever. You can make it yourself, but you don't really have to go buy a giant jar of pomegranate juice and cook it down all day. You can just buy it. This is a great pantry item. Doesn't have to be refrigerated. Easy to have. So get that in there. I have a tiny bit of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce is like, it's the fish sauce of the West. It's an anchovy sauce, which a lot of people don't know. So if your friends are like, I don't like anchovies, but I love steak with Worcestershire, you don't have to tell them. They don't need to know the truth. So I'm going to drop that in there. That just gives it a little bit of a umami flavor, but there's a lot of things in here that are going to give it an umami flavor. It's going to be divine. So get that guy in there. I'm going to use some apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar, tang, brightness, little bit of acid, and then pomegranate juice. So pomegranate juice, if you've ever had straight pomegranate juice, it's quite bitter, which is great. So I'm going to counter the bitterness of the pomegranate juice with some brown sugar. Boop. Don't you love when you use brown sugar, how it comes out in a puck? I love that. So those two are going to go hand in hand. So you got sweet and you got sour. So we got sweet, we got sour. That's barbecue sauce, sweet and sour, right?
That's quite the lineup of ingredients in this barbecue sauce.
Yeah, and we're not done yet. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
So I'm just going to take all of these and mix them together now that we've talked about them. You don't have to whisk them. When you do this at home, just drop them all right into the pan. That'll be perfectly fine. But in they go. Whoosh. And then get that nicely combined. And now this is just gonna hang out and simmer on your stove for 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Make this ahead of time, the flavors will just deepen.
It has such a nice glossy look to it already.
Isn't it pretty? Yeah, as soon as that sugar starts to dissolve, it's gonna get very glossy. And it just immediately looks like barbecue sauce too. An interesting thing you can do is you can give it a little taste, right away. And then remember that flavor, because it's like, okay, but it needs more love. We'll get a little salt in there. That's about a ½ teaspoon of salt. But you're gonna do it to taste anyway. And then we're gonna come back to this and see how things go. I like to have a little water on standby too when I make this, because if it gets too thick, it's hard to brush it onto the lamb. So keep that in mind. It's nice to have a little bit of liquid nearby. I'm gonna get a little more heat on here. Can always turn it down. All right, so while that's starting to create all of its magical flavor, let's head over here and we're gonna work on the marinade. Oh, I forgot this part, hold on, please hold.
Intermission.
Intermission,
Garlic time.
Yep, I forgot. So you can use whichever one of your magical big knives you wanna use. The two I have working today are, I've got a santoku. This santoku has a nice wide face, still has a little curve in the blade, in the belly of the blade, which is great. But those little cullens on the side, those little indentations, they help keep the food from sticking to your knife. So it's really great for herbs and greens and things along those lines. But I mean, a lot of us, we just use a santoku for everything. Your other go-to kitchen knife is the chef knife. And this one's really great. It's got a nice little curve in the belly of the blade. That means you can actually rock the knife when you're using it. So you're gonna go zoom, zoom. And it's got a nice big thick back that you can use for lots of things. The other thing I love about these particular knives, this is from the Heritage set that Schmidt Brothers Cutlery makes. It has this great little notch in the bolster, so you can really anchor your hand in there however you're gonna be using the knife. So if you follow me down, we're gonna go down here. So when you're using the knife, you're like, I'm able to do this great rocking motion, and I'm pushing against it here, and this beautiful little cutout that's there. I absolutely love it. It's so cool. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think Paulette might be in the chat today. She is a representative of our friends over at Schmidt Brothers, and if she's here today, she'll be able to answer some of our more technical knife questions. Is Paulette in the house, the virtual house?
I'm not seeing Paulette in the house, but
all right.
Paulette, if you're in there, give a shout.
Give us a shout. What's great about that, though, is did you see how I just crushed right down on that, and it's just perfect. And I just want to smash it a little bit more. Not getting my hand near the blade. I'm using my hand, the heel of my hand on the back of the blade, but it's great, like on the spine there. And look at that. I've already got like half chopped garlic. And then once I get in here, see that rock? Look how I can rock the knife, and I reposition it every time I'm using it. That's beautiful. That's a sign that you want to see. Also, when you clean off your knife, clean it off from the back, because you have a nice sharp knife, and what you don't want to do is clean it off from the front, like this. No, you're not going to do that. Okay. So just some quick chop. I'm going to throw this into my delicious, bubbling sauce that's just starting to get its magic going. And when you draw stuff together on the board too, use the back of your knife so you don't dull your blade or scrape up your board. That's a nice way to go too. All right. I did use garlic powder in here. I'm also using fresh garlic. And you might notice I didn't saute it. I'm just adding it in. So it'll still have a fair amount of good garlic flavor. I like to use my knife for this. You could grate the garlic, but then it can get kind of mushy when you grate it. All right, so in we go. Shoop. All right, beautiful. All right, and now things are starting to percolate over here.
Paulette is not in the chat today, but we do have Alessandra in the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat for Alessandra.
And who was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Alessandra.
Alessandra?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Hope
Hi,
I'm pronouncing that
Alessandra.
correctly.
Welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Good to see you there.
Alessandra. I love it. I wonder what Alessandra wants to tell us about these amazing knives. One thing I love about a good chef knife or a santoku, which I use very much interchangeably is I love how you can use them for almost everything that you want to do in the kitchen. They're just workhorses, which is fantastic. And these two knives came out of this heritage set I think I mentioned, which is behind me, so I don't know if you can see it. This guy is a really cool set because it has all your essentials. The other thing that's cool about this for this class is it has all of your beautiful steak knives, which are really just meat knives, and so you can use them for everything, including lamb, which we're going to do next. All right, so bubbling away. I did add a little bit of water because I don't want anything to stick. So if it's really clumpy, get some water in there. It's all going to evaporate off anyway. And I'm going to come back and test this flavor in a couple minutes, but for now it's just going to percolate away. Okay, let's knock this out. So same basic set of spices here. So I've got garlic powder, onion powder. This is Aleppo pepper here. It's a little bit different variety of a red pepper. It's a little spicy. It's not in-your-face spicy like a crushed red pepper. It has a little more nuance. It has also a little like nice citrusy quality to it, which I really love. All the food that we're making here today has a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe, which is wonderful. Here's some smoked paprika, cumin. This is coriander, ground coriander. Do you know what the seed of the coriander is? Like, what is coriander? I guess would be the better question.
I don't, but I would love to know. I mean, there's so many spices that go in here.
Is anybody jumping in on that one?
What was that?
Is anyone jumping in on that one?
Not yet. We did have someone mention that there has been recently got a new knife set, and they're saying that now they understand why it's so important to have nice, sharp, new knives. It makes a big difference.
Because if you've been cooking with sad, dull knives, you're like, what happened? I can't work. Yeah, when you switch over to good knives, you're like, it changes your whole life, and it makes it a joy to cook. So coriander is the seed of the cilantro plant. If you go into a market in most parts of the world and you ask for coriander, it's going to be like, well, do you want fresh or do you want dried seeds? Here in the States, we call it cilantro when it's fresh and coriander when it's dried. I have a little bit of allspice powder here. So instead of using the little seeds of allspice, I'm using that instead because this is going to be for a rub. And then a little tiny bit of ground cinnamon, just a little reminiscent. And these are all these great warming spices. I also have salt and pepper in here too. And these are these great warming spices. And when you think of the warming spices, don't think of like, oh, I'm cold, I want to be warm. Think more about like soul-enriching spices. You have them in your food, and they make you feel connected and cozy in the world. I don't know how else to describe it. They're just really special. And it's funny because all these warming spices are really from some of the hottest places in the world, right? Like North Africa, India, the southern Mediterranean. So when you use them, I think in this country we really associate them more with like stews and cozy foods in the winter, but they're so nice in the summer. Okay, so that's that.
Cinnamon is an interesting addition.
Yeah, it's really fun. And you can also you can give it a little taste too and just see how it is. It's a great combo of flavors. I got some salt in there. You're going to use a little more salt than probably you think you need because you're going to be seasoning meat. Meat needs a little salt. All right, so I did that. I got this going. I turned the heat down just a little bit so it would just kind of quietly simmer away and not bubble all over the place. But there is some steam, which is great. And I'm going to try it again with the other end of my spoon and just see. Yeah, so good. All right, that's going to be amazing. It does need a tiny bit more salt. Don't be surprised if you're adding more salt to things. And remember, for the whole thing, this just gets brushed on the lamb. So you want it to taste great when it's in your mouth. And I'm going to add a tiny bit more water too, just so while I'm working with the lamb, I don't have to worry about it sticking. Because once I get my lamby hands going, I don't want to have to go stop what I'm doing to worry about this bubbling over. All right. So let's talk about lamb.
Lamb time.
Lamb time. I love this magic of television moment when I whip out an entire rack of lamb. So this is a really special ingredient, one that you don't see necessarily all the time. It sort of gets reserved for special occasions, like, oh, we're having lamb. But these days, we grow a lot more lamb than used to be available. So this is a big, beautiful American lamb rack. And what you want to notice is it has all of the meat and fat on it. It hasn't been what you call Frenched. So most of the time when you go to a grocery store, you're going to find your rack has been Frenched. And that means that all of this tissue and extra fat has been taken off of the top of the bones, and you're just left with this part of the lamb, this medallion here, which is the lush, amazing, like tenderloin part of the lamb, right? Right there. It's like the rib eye, the eye of the rib, because these are ribs. So this part right here is what we eat. But we can, if you buy it like this, you can actually save this and use it for other things. So we'll talk about that right now. But first up, I want to show you how to French the lamb. I'm going to start with my my big workhorse knife, my chef knife. If you had a boning knife, you could use a boning knife. That would be great. The thing is, a lot of us don't have boning knives. I mean, it's a very specific tool. It's great to have in your kitchen, but a lot of, if you buy a really good knife set, they don't always come with a boning knife. So I want to show you how to use this with your workhorse knife. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify the front and the back of the piece. So if you look here, there's going to be a little bone right here. This is the bottom of the scapula, because this is the part of the lamb that goes into the shoulder. So this little bone right here tells you where the front is. So this, I look at this and then I say, oh, okay, this is from the right side, because I can see where the bones would be going into the spinal column. And then, you know, on the other side, there is no bone back here. So I need to get that bone out. So what I'm going to do is, I'll try to do this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to come in here so I can get this little scapula bone. I don't have to use my knife a ton just to feel around. My hands are in here. Don't put your hands and the knife in the same place. Kind of goes without saying, but you get the idea. And it also, probably goes without saying, your knife has to be sharp when you do this. If you have a dull knife, you're going to spend a lot more time working and also worrying about cutting yourself. With a dull knife, you use a lot more force than with a properly sharpened or honed knife.
It looks like it's getting done so seamlessly. It's just kind of
and I'm
right
barely drawing the knife around it, like barely. And I don't know if you can even hear, but I'm barely moving the knife. Okay, and so you see, this is that scapula bone. It's the very bottom of the scapula that goes into the shoulder blade, or that is the shoulder blade, I should say. And so this piece right here, nobody's gonna eat that. So you're just gonna pull it out.
And is there anything that you can do with that bone?
The scapula itself, no. I mean, if you were going to make a lamb stock or something, you could throw it in. And you can tell this was a fairly big animal because that's a pretty big bone right there. All right, so that's that. And then the rest of this sort of top fat cap is just going to come off. And you don't have to worry too much about going deep here because I'm already into where the bones are.
I do have a comment from Joe. We were just talking about how lamb can seem a little bit intimidating, like it's reserved for only special occasions.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive. Well, Joe here got a crazy deal, $3.75 package on Amazon Fresh. They were 75% off for
oh my gosh.
some French lamb chops.
Oh!
So I feel like that gives you an excuse to have some lamb on a random weeknight, because why not?
Lamb has become a lot more affordable. It used to be, first of all, people would only have lamb in the springtime. That's why you always associate it with those spring holidays. And they would be the young spring lambs, and that's what people would have. Nowadays, our system is a little bit different, and so there's more lamb available more of the year. And also, it doesn't have to come too far. This is all American lamb, so this is, from regional, very close. So I'm glad you got a good deal, Joe. That's awesome. I want to show you this piece that I cut off. It has a bunch of different kinds of tissue in here. There is a fair amount of fat, but there's also some really good meat here. You can put this in a grinder and turn it into lamb burgers, you know, ground lamb to use for a chili or a stew or something. So that's one of the reasons it's nice to get this whole piece, because you can reserve this and use it for something else. The fat that you cut off can also be rendered. You can do it, if you have a little bit, you can do it in an oven. Or in a skillet. If you have a lot, you can do it in a low oven. Just let the fat render out, and then you're just going to strain it. And you can actually freeze that fat and like scoop out a little bit and add it to your roasted potatoes, you know, or whatever. I mean, there's lots of different things you can do with it. So it's kind of a nice thing to have.
Great tip.
Yeah. Okay, so now I have this guy left. I took off that big chunk that was on the top. And now what I want to do is actually clean these bones, because, you know, when you get a pretty rack of lamb, all the bones are clean and it looks really nice. The other thing that's nice about that is, in this case, I'm actually going to be grilling these. But if I'm going to do a rack of lamb in the oven, any leftover tissue on these bones can brown and blacken in a hot oven, which is often how you're going to cook this, hot and fast. And that's sad, you know. You don't want to have that going on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this part. So remember how we were talking about this guy right here, this little ribeye, and then there's a little tiny one right there. So you sort of figure out where that other one is, because you don't want to lose any meat. And you make a little notch, almost like a C-curve. So you do this kind of thing. So see how it's kind of C-ed around? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I have this big piece of tissue here, and then I have a little bit there. Excuse me. And then away we go. Excuse me. I think I got a little pepper. Okay, so now you have two little notches. You see those two little notches? One here and one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the dots. So you just draw a straight line between the two notches with your knife, straight across. And then once you've done that, you're going to come back and you're just going to dip down between the bones. So come in, dip down between the bones. Dip down between the bones. And what you're doing is you're basically making, like, I don't know, you know how if you write a check, it has that perforated edge. I don't know, I guess we don't write checks anymore, but if we were to write checks, they have this little perforated edge, right, or a perforated piece of paper. So you're perforating this top part of the lamb. And when we're done, it'll basically be like ribs without the bones, right? So see that? Cross that. I'm going to come over on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, right? I'm going to feel my bones along that notch.
And what exactly does this step help with?
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
What exactly does this step help with? What does it help with?
What does the serration help with?
Yes.
I mean the perforation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, please hold.
Oh.
Please stand by. Perforation coming. All right, so see how I got all that going? All right, so now I got my perforations, and I just went through on the other side to make sure that it was all pushed through. Now, this section right here is called the elastin. So that's the part that connects the meat to the bone. So I'm going to take the tip of my knife, and I'm just going to draw it right down the middle all the way to my perforated line. So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? If I lift it up, see this part right here? And this is just going to fall right off once I slice down through it with my sharp knife. And that's going to reveal my bone underneath. Can you see that? I don't know how well that's coming across. Yeah, see how that's now getting pulled away from the bone? And it's really easy. It just slides right off. See that? So I'm going to do that all the way down. Top, all the way down to your perforation. And you're starting to see those bones, right? Oops.
There you have it, folks. Nice and easy and clean.
It's true. I will say there's a few different ways to do this. I feel like there's as many ways to do this as there are people who do it. But I do love this technique. And like, shout out to Ben from our local Dawn and Joe's up in the Pike Place Market. I went up there and asked him to show me how he did it, and I was like, that's the easiest version I've ever seen of this. Can I use that? And he said, oh my gosh, that's how I do it every day. And I was like, yay, pro butcher tip. Get to know your butchers. They're the best. All right. So can you see that I'm just kind of opening this up? You can use your knife to do it, but you can also just use your fingers once you've cut it with your nice sharp blade. Shoop. And I'm just kind of pulling it back. Right? So that's that. Just keep in mind, too, that when you're doing this, the bones themselves can be a little bit sharp. So watch yourself with the bones. The edge is definitely sharp because that's where it was cut. But even between the bones, once you expose the bone itself, so be careful with your hands. And also, when you're using your knife, you can use the front of your knife, but you can also use the back of your knife. So as I clean these off, if I need to, I'll use the back of the knife to really finish the job. All right, so you go all the way down. Make sure that it connects to the bottom because you've basically already made your cut. This last one's always a little tricky to find. It's always like the trickiest piece. When you get a lamb rack, it's always going to have 8 ribs on it pretty much, but sometimes those last 2 ribs on the ends are a little bit harder to get to because they're a little bit smaller. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, perfect. That way you can have party and you know how many people you can serve. All right, so once I get that done, I'm just gonna start to peel it off. And then let's see what the best way is to show you this. Here we go. So I'm just gonna run the knuckle of my finger down. And this is not like a delicate action. You are really working it, but it shouldn't be hard. And then I'm gonna go to the next one. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna get my finger in there like my knuckle, and I'm just gonna pull it down and really clear that tissue off of it. There we go. And you just keep working your way down. There's a couple different versions of this. I just like to get my hands in there. Some people will use like a piece of kitchen twine and they'll wrap it around and yank it down. I always feel like if I start getting more pieces of equipment, it just seems to take longer.
I'm watching it from afar, and it's so mesmerizing.
It is. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. And it's a little deceptive. Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to work, but it does.
Slides right out.
It slides right out. Yep, and this little stuff we'll just clean up with the knife in a minute. I would say as you start to get down, it gets a little, they seem to hold a little bit more. Not sure why that is. Rah. Sometimes you have to make some noises when you do this, like rah.
You have to channel your inner wrestler.
Your inner caveman, I don't know. Because this is very much a meat thing. There we go. Yeah, see how these are so pretty? And all of this is basically just rib meat without the ribs attached. So you can clean that up and use it in your lamb burgers or stews or whatever. You can also just cook them and eat them like chef snack after you're done prepping all this. Because you can do this the day before your event and season up the lamb and let it rest overnight. Totally good. I will say, if you want to do this yourself, definitely check with, your real local butcher, whoever's actually doing butchery in your area, because a lot of times they get these already Frenched, and in fact, you might have to special order if you want to get one that's not Frenched. You can also get them Frenched and then have your butcher do it for you if you just want to have this fat and meat available.
Yeah, it sounds like it's great to have on hand.
It's
for
really
anything.
great, yeah. This last one is always the hardest. I don't know why.
It's being stubborn.
Like,
we did have someone in the chat say that they brought something like this as an appetizer, which is a great idea also. I mean, this is
the
good.
lollipops?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely. So now I come over to the other side, and I just make sure everything's released so I can pull it off. And there's your...
Amazing.
Yep. So that's your what you do with your perforations. And these little bits of meat, you can absolutely trim those out and use them. They're perfectly wonderful. All right. So once you get to this point, it's on the road. It's not quite there, so we got to clean it up a little bit. So you can either switch over to a paring knife or stick with this. I'm just going to trim, and then don't be afraid to use the back of your knife for any of that connective elastin tissue around the edges. And again, this is all for presentation's sake, especially if it's in an oven. So see how you just scrape it down? And you want to hear that scraping sound when you do it. It's for sure a scraping sound. But I'm using the back of the knife so I'm not dulling my blade. And if anything needs a little extra attention with a sharper part, I'll do that. But I much prefer, right, to preserve my blade. And these are nice hard German steel. I don't know quite what the hardness is of them, but they're pretty hard. So they're going to hold their edge for a while. And then this set also comes with a pull-through sharpener, I believe, which is nice because then you can just quickly restore them when you need to. Do you hear that scraping sound? Scrap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty fundamental. This is meat, man. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is actually a little bit of that top piece we're going to just take off because I want that nice fat to save the day here. So here's another great little piece of meat that we can use for whatever's next. And so anything else at this point that needs a little trimming, go for it. I like to have a bit of fat on there, so I'm going to leave that. And then you can make it a little bit more, just a little bit cleaned up along this edge here so that it goes right into the, there we go. All right. And then just got your scrap pile ready to go. And then you have these beautiful little French racks. Oops. Isn't that cool? And you did it yourself.
It's so impressive to look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's amazing, like, if you go back to what we started with, to think about this being where we went to, it's quite amazing. This back of the knife thing, though, is super helpful, just to clean it up. All right. Okay, so at this point, you could take this, season it up with your whatever you're using, and as far as a marinade or a dry rub, and then bake it or roast it or stick it on a grill, whatever you're going to do. I am going to actually cut these now into little lollipops so that they are ready to be popped onto our little griddle here, your grill. All right. Whoops. I still have a tiny bit left to go. Rah. I don't know why there's a lot of sound effects necessary for this, but I feel there are.
it's an art.
I mean, it goes way back. I feel a little bit like a cave woman right now. Okay, so there's your nice, beautiful rack, all Frenched up. And now what I want to do is I want to cut it into the lollipops. So whichever knife you want to use is fine. I'm going to switch back to a little bit bigger blade so that I can do the whole thing in one fell swoop. So you're going to notice when you look at this that, you know, your bones tend to curve a little bit. So if you press on a bone, you can see where the rest of it is. So see how when I press on this, I can see where it is. It's right in there. So I'm going to find where that's moving and go just to the right of it. And then I'm just going to pull through. And then I have this beautiful little chop. So you see my little chop?
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a little chop. So you're going to just keep going. And every time, if you're not sure, just move your rib a little bit, and you'll see where it is.
And are you just going straight down, or are you going with a little bit of an angle as well?
I'm going on a tiny little angle, and as you continue to go, your angle will decrease. So you'll do less of an angle as you get to the end.
Gotcha.
All right, so here we go. Boom, boom. And the bone really tells you where to go because you can't cut through the bone. So the bone's saying, go this way. Okay.
The bone whisperer.
Yeah, bone. You got to translate bone. Shoop. And they're just so pretty. And you know, if there is a deal, like Joe was saying, you got a great deal, buy a bunch and you can take them to whichever stage you want and then freeze them like that, which is pretty great. You know, for a couple months. I wouldn't freeze them for a ton of time, or you'll just have like freezer burned lamb chops.
But having lamb on hand sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
You know, I like it like this because you can just pull out the ones that you want. Like maybe it's just, you know, a couple people at your house and you just pull out, you know, 2 or 4 of these and then that's dinner. You know, pull them out the night before, let them defrost. They're already seasoned up, ready to go. I like to do a bunch of work once and then eat 2 or 3 times. So look at this pile of joy. Isn't that amazing? So good. So the reason I did my marinade ahead of time was so I could take my lammy hands right after that and then just get them in there. So you're just going to coat them nicely with your marinade. I'm just going to pop them back in the bowl that I had the lamb sitting in earlier. Real simple. It's better to cut them first and then put the rub on because you want to get all the sides. If you just put the rub on the whole thing and then cut them, you're going to have to add more rub anyway. All right, so what are we thinking? How are we feeling? Are you ready to knock out some lamb? What kind of questions do you have about it? What kind of questions do you have about the seasonings or the knife? Tell me.
Let's see. No questions in the chat as of now, but I did have a question about the seasoning. So obviously, it adds a really great depth of flavor. It adds a lot of different, lets the flavors mingle a little bit. Does seasoning it this way add any like crust element or texture, or do you want more of the softer texture in lamb?
Yeah, great question. So it's not going to be like a fried chicken piece or something. These are meant to, especially a dry rub that doesn't have any fat in it, because there's a lot of fat in the lamb. It's just going to sear that flavor into the meat. And it's such a nice piece that every bite that you slice into is going to have seasoning on it. So you're going to get this nice flavor of the rub, accentuating the richness of the lamb. So remember that sumac is in there, and you've got all the cumin and the coriander and the garlic and onion. So there's all these beautiful flavors, all those nice warming spices plus the almonds and everything. And so that's all in there, and that's just going to give you a ton of flavor. And so here's my situation. It's my lamb situation. So this is ready to go. So you can take this and just let it rest overnight. Obviously, you know, wrap it up and get it out of there. And that'll be great. You can also do what we're going to do and just cook it right away. I'm just going to wash my hands.
And Chef Bonnie,
hands. Yeah.
While you're washing your hands, I do have a question for you. How far ahead can you do this?
How far ahead what?
How far ahead can you do this?
You mean the marinade?
I believe Joe is asking how far ahead can you prep the lamb in general?
Yeah, okay. So you can do it the day before and just let it rest in your fridge. It should be covered. You don't want it to get dried out. This isn't like one of those brining situations where we're trying to get like make a skin all crusty or crispy. So definitely cover them. Sometimes I make the marinade in a bag, like a plastic bag, and then I toss them into the bag, like that old school chicken thing where you shake it all up, except it's plastic. And then I just store them like that. And then they can be in the fridge for a day or even 2. And the flavors are just going to deepen a little bit. The salt is going to pull some of that flavor out too, so it's quite lovely. So I would say a day or 2. And if you're going to put it in your freezer, probably 2 months, I would say, all cut up and ready to go. So you can take the lamb that you got, prep it all, and then save some so the next time you want it, you just have a party.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get this little griddle going. This is perfectly fine in a nice cast iron skillet, big heavy skillet. On the grill, of course. We don't have a grill here, so this is our grill. It's quite lovely. In the meantime, we're going to head over here and just see how things are going with this saucy goodness. It's looking pretty fantastic. I'm just going to give it one more test and see if it needs anything. It smells amazing. Okay. All the flavors have come together. They're all mixing and mingling. My soul is on fire. There is so much great flavor in here. It's bonkers. It has a tiny bit of heat, but not overwhelming at all. It's tangy. It's a little bit sour. It's a little bit sweet. It's just a beautiful combination. I'm going to give it a little bit of water because I cooked a fair amount of that water off. Me personally, I want it to be a little more saucy. You can absolutely have it be nice and thick too. That's completely fine. It also needs a tiny bit more salt because you want to taste all the flavors. So the salt opens up your palate, causes you to salivate, helps you taste the flavors right up front as opposed to hoping to taste them before they go down into your belly. All right, I'm going to just do a quick cleanup because things got a little bit sloppy over here. I bet this is going to beep at me, isn't it? There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to come back to that in just a little bit. So while I'm waiting for this to heat up and I'm waiting for my lamb to just soak up a little flavor, not necessary, by the way. You can just coat them beautifully and throw them on the grill right away. They're going to hang out for a beat while we're waiting for this. I'm going to grab another cutting board so I can make the slaw. Did I even mention we were making slaw? I may have mentioned we were making slaw.
We're making slaw today.
We're making slaw today. We're going to slaw it up. We're going to slay with slaw. I did have a request to talk about pomegranate. Should we? Should we talk about pomegranate?
Yeah, let's talk about pomegranate a little bit.
Super great, super beautiful. This is where the juice comes from. I'm sure you've seen these before. They're amazing. When you get your pomegranate, there's as many ways to cut pomegranate as people who cut them. So change it up, try different things. I'm going to cut into it like in a little cross there, and then I have a bowl ready to go. I'm just going to start to crack it open. Ooh, it's got a nice, beautiful top, too. All right, here we go. All right, and it's just going to open up, and then that's the inside.
Nice.
Right?
I love pomegranate.
I love pomegranate.
So good.
You just open it away from you, and then the seeds just start to fall out. And then you can take them and just pop the little arils. They're actually not technically seeds, they're arils, because that's actually the fruit. And inside each tiny little aril is a tiny little seed, like microscopically small. Okay, not really microscopic, but small. And that's what you're going to do, right? So that's how you do it. You just turn it away from you over a bowl and then just gently peel them out. And these are so special. I feel like someone knows how much you love them when you just like peel a pomegranate for them.
Oh yeah, that's love language.
So special. So whenever you can get fresh pomegranates, I really recommend it. So I'm not going to do this whole pomegranate now just in the interest of time, but I wanted you to see the process because I do have the magic of television pomegranate over here.
What?
What? Cheats. All right. Because I knew it was going to take me a little time to do that whole pomegranate, and I didn't want to have you guys sit and watch me do an entire pomegranate. So that's a whole big, beautiful bowl of pomegranate right there. All right. Ooh, look. Hot. Getting hot. I want to go a tiny bit more. I did oil the grates beforehand, so you're going to see a little bit of smoke, which is totally fine. And here is what we're going to use for our slaw. So I've got like a quarter of a cabbage head here, and I have a half of a radicchio, another type of cabbage, nice bitter greens, so good. So I'm going to take these guys and just give them a slice to shred them up. And just a reminder, this is a great use of your santoku because with your santoku, nothing's going to stick to it, and it's got a big, wide face. So you can go all the way through the greens and make it great. Oh, it's just yelled at me. Hold on.
Intermission again.
Intermission while I grapple with my stove. Okay, so this stove's ready to go. So I'm going to take this off for a second, get that out of the way, and then let's get this going. Okay, so I got a little bit of oil on the grates. I recommend that you do that. And then we're just going to pop these on. They're not going to take long. They're going to take 2 or 3 minutes aside. So put them all on in the same direction, and then you'll be able to tell how you did it and which ones need to be flipped. Because if you put them on all haphazard, you might not be able to tell what needs to be flipped. You know what I'm saying?
Look at that sizzle.
Pardon me?
Look at that sizzle.
I know, look at that
Smells
sizzle.
so
You can
good.
hear it too, right? Little sizzle. And I wish you all could smell it in here because it's just spice heaven. And I don't mean like spicy, like hot. I mean like these gorgeous combination of all these fragrances. And if you want to smell it, don't put your face directly over anything, right? You get down to the level of food and you just waft. And it's like a bath of beautiful warming spices. I get the coriander in there. I'm getting like a little garlic, onion, incredible. All right, so back to this. Just gonna do some quick, this slaw should take you about 45 seconds to make. You're just gonna take this guy, and then really, that's basically done. And when your knife is nice and sharp, it's not a problem, right? It's like, boom. The best. If you got a core in there, you're going to have to cut your core out, which is good.
And quick question, Bonnie.
Yep.
When you were cutting that lamb, did you do anything to get that like perfect lollipop ball shape at the very top?
No, that's what you're trying to reveal, right? You're like a sculptor. You're trying to get to what's there. So that little lollipop exists in the lamb. You just have to whittle away everything that isn't that to get what you're going for. You're like going to be the Michelangelos of lamb.
Lamb carving is an art.
Lamb carving, yeah. So you can make this as red or as greenish white as you like. Just get all these guys in there, right? Ooh, that sounds good. I'm going to wait another minute before I flip those. And then I'm going to throw this together too. So this is a little bit of red wine vinegar, more of the sumac for that citrusy flavor. Just swirling it together with some salt, of course. I'm going to put a tiny bit of fresh ground pepper in here just because I like that flavor, but don't feel like you have to. Just get that really nicely combined.
I love how you have those like cozy, bold flavors in the lamb, and then you have this really bright, fresh, nice, citrusy side salad to go with it.
The other thing that's really cool about this particular one, too, is it doesn't have any oil in it, which is unusual. Usually when you dress a salad, you're going to have some fat, you're going to have some acid, you're going to have some salt. In this case, I'm not using any fat in here. I didn't use any fat in the marinade. It's all just bright, crispy, beautiful, earthy flavors to go up against the lamb. So if you shoot down on the lamb right now, you're going to see that it's starting to a little moisture is starting to come through from the ones that I did first. And that also, they should be the same temp, but we'll see. So I'm gonna just give it a little look. Oh, what is happening? I mean, I do like a good grill mark. Anybody else?
I prefer it, actually.
Yeah, look at that. Now the second side's gonna go faster. So count on that grill mark on the first side, but know that your second side will go faster. And if you have people who are, who maybe want it a little more well done, lamb should really only be cooked to medium rare. But if you have people who are like, oh, I'm afraid of lamb already, please don't make me eat bloody lamb. You do what your guests ask you to do, right? You're just gonna let it go a little longer on the grill and that's okay. But these guys, I'm gonna probably do another like minute or two on the side and that'll be that. All right, am I missing anything from my dressing? I don't think so. That's it, right? Sumac, pepper, yeah, I got it all. Okay, so I'm gonna do some of these in here. Totally not necessary, but I do like to get them really coated. And then I'm just gonna just get that dressing on there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, the color.
I know. And if you do this a little bit earlier, it will just start to wilt a bit, you know, from that acid in there. There we go. And of course, you know, you got to taste it, make sure it's okay.
Quality control.
Oh my gosh, it is so delicious. But do check it in case you have to add anything to it. And then take some more pomegranate, just put it on top. So you can serve this all like family style. Just put platters of food out and let people do their thing. We can also what'd I do with my platter? All right. I feel like I'm actually outside grilling right now. You know? Yeah, these are done. The nice thing about doing the lollipops is they go really fast. So you don't have to worry about, you know, letting it roast for hours and hours and oh my gosh, I hope it's done. It goes super fast. If you're worried about the temperature, cook it to an internal temperature of 140 and then let it rest for 5 minutes and it'll bump up to 145, which is about where you want it to be. You can absolutely cook it a little less, a little more, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But then you have this gorgeous thing. Look at this. So there's a couple different ways you can do your presentation. So you can have these on a platter somewhere. You can also have your platter be like, you know, dressed, you know, so you got a little bit of extra action in there. You know what I mean? You can also take your lamb and like seductively drape it, you know, over, right? So lots of different versions. I like to, I usually do it in 2 separate things just in case I have people coming over who don't eat lamb, so they don't feel like they can't even have any salad. And I usually know ahead of time they're coming, so maybe I have another little something for them on the side. Another thing that's really great is if you take some fresh herbs. I've got a little parsley here and a little mint, which are great with these foods. Mint in particular and lamb are just in love with each other. So you take your guys here. Your santoku is perfect for this too. Just keep your rockin' going.
I feel like mint and lamb is like power couple.
Yeah, it's like a match made in heaven. Right, so you can do a little bit in there. And you can put it on there, however you want to do it. Parsley's really good too. Cilantro would be great, right, because you already have that coriander in there. So, I mean, look, it's so pretty just in that presentation. But if it's a fancy dinner party and, you know, people are sitting down, you might want to do a little something extra.
And Daisy in the chat is asking, what is the temperature for a well-done lamb?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever made well-done lamb. So I don't actually know what the temperature is. I mean, 1/5? I don't know. That's a really good question because I haven't the faintest idea. Thank you for asking that question. Now I will look it up.
I just looked it up, and it looks like it's 155 to 164, so very close.
Okay. Yeah. You know, lamb can get pretty tough if you cook it a ton, so I recommend being careful about cooking it too far, but I understand. Sometimes people want it really well done, and that's absolutely fine. You have to have it the way you and your guests want it. This is your meal, so you make it exactly the way you want. So did you see how I brushed that on there? That little glaze, while it's still warm, because that'll just melt right on there. Oops. I kind of dressed it, and then I'm extra brushing it, so you're getting all the variations. The other thing I like to do when I do this in a plating is I like to have extra sauce on there because the sauce is so delicious. So let's get a plate. Let's set it up as if we were having an elegant dinner party in the yard, you know, under a beautiful canopy of evening.
In my rose garden.
What's that?
In my rose garden.
Yes, in your rose garden, for sure. I didn't strain the sauce because I'm just going to take out some, but you could certainly strain your sauce to make sure you're not serving somebody like an allspice berry, but there we go. All right, so I get a little sauce on my plate. You know what I love about this set? It comes with these steak knives, so it's very convenient. You just like knock out whatever meal you're making, and then you have actual beautiful cutlery to put with it. So let's see. I think I'll do, I don't know. I think I'll do this one. This one looks really good. So I'm going to get that on the plate. I'm going to get a little bit of the slaw, beautiful slaw. And make sure you get those pomegranate arrows that you worked so hard for, because they're pretty fantastic. You can also have this like up on your plate like that. There's your plate. Isn't that pretty?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So pretty. And you put this down in front of somebody and you're like, I love you. I Frenched lamb for you. I worked on pomegranate for you. You're the best. And then you're good to go. Should I try it?
Let's do it.
I'm dying to try it. Okay. Here, let's do this. All right, so I'm going to just get in here, have a little slice of, oh, yeah. So the lamb is beautiful. That's your medium rare. I don't know, it almost doesn't show up quite on the camera, but it's medium rare. It's got this nice little pink interior, very juicy, and it's got this beautiful sauce, and I'm like, oh, maybe just a tiny bit more sauce. It's so good. It's sweet, it's sour, it's lush, it's elegant, not too much fat, beautiful. And then paired with this guy, all these fresh herbs and this beautiful cabbage and radicchio. I just don't even know what to do. This is so good. All right, I want you guys to go forth and cook. I want you to knock out amazing meals, and I want you to get yourselves an awesome set of knives so that you can easily work in the kitchen and have joy and fun and play without like being annoyed with a bad knife. So your cutting edge is waiting for you. Go get it today. I think Anna's got this link in the chat so you know where to go to get a good set of knives. These are beautifully balanced. They feel great in my hand. I'm so happy to be using them. When you pick up a good knife, it's going to feel like an extension of you. It shouldn't feel like you've got this extra thing hanging on the end of your hand. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to slice, I'm going to chop, I'm going to knock it out, and it'll be great. So have a beautiful time cooking in the kitchen. I hope you go and make this. Let us know how it goes. And thank you so much for spending a little time with us and making some great food together. I love being here with you. Thank you. And I'm just going to take this and go finish it off.